Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. And in today's episode, I wanted to talk on getting canceled because, I was watching this video about this rapper named Stunna. I think it's like Stunna for Vegas. I think that's how his name is pronounced. I know people gonna probably be trying to get on me. I'm like, oh, get the name right and all this other stuff. Look, bro, I don't be paying attention. When you got like a bunch of different people that you're listening to, and I'm trying to remember everybody's name, yeah, that's not possible. All right, I think I made it extremely clear that I am not good with names and don't plan on ever being good with names. So, but anyways, it was they kind of talked on that a little bit about how he was going viral for all the wrong reasons, and it was just like some like just rap beef and all that stuff. But then it also kind of talked on DaBaby, because he was signed to the DaBaby. I'm pretty sure everybody knows who that is. But yeah, he was signed to him. And then but I don't think they really had like a falling out. I just think it was on some stuff where it was like, yeah, Stunna, he wanted to get out of the rap game and stuff. I think he still does rap, but it ain't as like, I guess, as big as it was when he was signed with DaBaby and stuff. And so there ain't nothing wrong with that. I know people will probably hear that and be all like, oh, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think what he realized was that he's worth more than just making music. Like, he can do a lot more than just that and stuff. And so, he has like a kind of like a basketball team going on. And I thought that was dope. I was like, I think that is pretty motivational and stuff. Don't settle for just one thing. Like, open doors, like open opportunities for yourself, pretty much. But anyways, yeah, they did kind of talk on that. Like DaBaby more so getting canceled and stuff. And then that's when I started thinking. I'm like, man, people don't really know how to avoid getting canceled. Like, they just walk right into it. And I think that's one of the main reasons on how they get themselves canceled, is that they talk to their audience and they think that their audience is going to be the only ones listening. But when you say something like mad out of pocket, fam, like it's going to be more than just your audience that's going to hear that. And I done seen it one too many different times where people done got canceled for some stuff that they done said. I'm like, you have to realize and understand that there are people like ghosts, and that's something that I have been saying a lot recently, is how people got ghost followers. You got people that are following you, but they're not following you on social media. They're not following you on YouTube. They're not following you like, going to your shows and all that. They're a ghost follower. They're somebody that's just, they are aware of you. They pay attention to your name when it starts going viral, but they're just not following you across social media platforms and stuff. One person I can say for an example is Kanye West, and then DaBaby. But like, let's talk on DaBaby real quick. So he had went on this like random rant, and it was at one of his shows. Everybody's in the crowd supporting him, all this other stuff. But anyways, he goes on this random rant. I think it was about, hold on for a second, because it was like, I think it was like with people with STDs or something like that. I gotta see, because I was like, it was one of those rants where it was like, his rap name was Baby Jesus. I mean, I guess, man, I don't know. But anyways, I wonder, legal issues. No, I don't know why it would be in the legal issues situation, but personal, nope. He it doesn't say anything about here, and okay, that. Okay, so here we go. All right, so I found that. I was like, I had to scroll a little bit on Wikipedia and stuff, but anyway, so it says in July 2021, DaBaby faced backlash for remarks largely regarding to be homophobic while performing at the Rolling Loud Festival in Miami Gardens, Florida on July 25th. He said, if you didn't show up today with HIV/AIDS or anything, or any of them deadly STDs, they'll make you die in 2 to 3 weeks, then put a cell phone light in the air. And I'm like, bro, what do you mean? Like, it's things like that. But yeah, it was like he starts saying some other stuff, but no, yeah, it was like, fam, I don't even understand, like, what does that have to do with your... So here's the thing. I listened to a lot of the baby during that time frame. You know, it was prior before he got canceled, but no, I was a fan of his. I was listening to his music. I was watching his music videos and stuff because he was putting out entertaining music and music videos. When that situation had happened, I was trying to piece it together. I'm like, fam, what does that have to do with the music? What are you talking about? Like, that's one of those things where I'm like, I just don't get when people, they will be on top of, like, I ain't gonna say the world, of their world. They will be on top of their world, but then they bring themselves down because they want to say something silly or crazy. And it's like, bro, you really have to sit down and think about it. Is it a smart idea, right, to go on a platform, Rolling Loud, where everybody that's there, they're not just there for you. Yes, you might be one of the hottest artists in the game right now, but they are not there. All of them are not there for you. There's a bunch of other different artists. So my thing is this, right? People are going to be recording this. Rolling Loud, they always record their performances and live stream it and all that stuff. Millions of people are going to see this. And then that's the thing about it too, is that some of those people, they're, like they have like blogs, kind of like TMZ and stuff like that. There are people that have followers that follow them just to see, like, okay, what's going on in the news? Like, what's the tea of the world and stuff, right? They see this video and you just assume that it's like, oh, well, that's him and his fans. They ain't got nothing to do. Fam, there are people out there that are dying from this disease. And you want to use it to tell people to put their cell phone lights in the air. Yeah, that was one of those things where I'm like, hey, look, man, I don't know what you got going on, but it's one of those things where you got to sit down and think about it. Is it a smart idea to go out and say some stuff like that? Yeah, that happened some time ago, but still, it's one of those things that I think about where I'm like, fam, there wasn't no reason for him to say that. So, but anyways, I know that's that's what usually be happening to people when they got canceled for some stuff. And I think everybody, they know it's like, oh, what about the YouTuber that you got in? Because I have to say that I wouldn't necessarily say that I was canceled, but I had got canceled among a community and stuff. But no, yeah, there was a YouTuber, because I know people were like, oh, I know you're going to mention such and such. No, yeah, there was a YouTuber that I had got into it with back in 2016. We've been kind of just going back and forth at it ever since then and stuff. More so me and his fans, but he'll chime in from time to time and stuff. But no, last year he posted this video where he thought it was a smart idea to defend a pedophile or a groomer, predator, whatever you want to call the woman and stuff. But no, yeah, it was so she got called out because she was like, I think she was sending inappropriate art to minors. And then, had like a Discord server where it was like a bunch of like inappropriate stuff was being talked about on there. Ended up getting called out. And then the YouTuber that I was getting into it with, he thought it was a smart idea to post a video defending her because he wanted her to be on his team of content creators. Like, I guess he was building some team and he wanted her to be on the team. And it's like, fam, that's like going to prison and finding like, oh, because he was a really good basketball player. That's like going to a prison, finding some, the greatest basketball player in there, but he killed 15 different people. Like, his crimes are still valid. Like, you can't just be like, oh, well, we just gonna ignore that and, oh, he's a really good basketball. No, it don't work like that. So, but yeah, overall, though, that did happen. And that was one of those things where I'm like, I sit down and I think about it. And I'm like, fam, there was no reason to even do that video. Like, that's the thing with, like, the baby situation and then this YouTuber that I was getting into it. Like, the thing with them is that they had an opportunity to talk about something else. But they decide to use that time and opportunity to talk on that one thing. And I'm like, that's why you guys are in the situation that you're in today. Like, the baby, I would have to say that he'll go viral from time to time with his music. And the YouTuber that I got into it with, like, his channel is dead. It's one of those things where I was like, I had told myself, nah, come 2026, I'm not even going to focus on his videos, his channel, none of that stuff. Like, I guess, like, if it's really entertaining, then I might give it a look. But if not, I'm I'm like, bro, it's one of those things where I'm like, hey, you in your own little world, I'm gonna focus on myself, you know. But then, no, I know people gonna probably be like, well, no, wait a minute, let's, you know, you did kind of talk on how you got canceled amongst a community. What happened with that situation? So yeah, there was a time where I had got into it with it wasn't even so, no, I got into it with a YouTuber. He had like this crazy weird fan that would just would pretty much like he'll be a fan of the YouTuber that I was getting into it with, stop being a fan of him, start being a fan of me, and then just kept doing that back and forth. He'll be a fan of me one day, next day he'll be a fan of the YouTuber I was getting into it with. So I remember we kind of exchanged some words, we said some things. I made him cry in the video. Well, it was more so my fans had made him cry, but either way, regardless, yeah, he was just being weird. You know, he was one of those people where I'm like, yeah, bro, you shouldn't even have a platform. If you're using the time to threaten people and just be overall weird in people's comment sections and stuff, yeah, no, you don't need to have no YouTube channel. I actually did try to do that because I seen that he was a kid, and I'm like, okay, has to have like maybe, I don't know, social media account, and his parents is friends with him or whatever, and I'm like, no, yeah, I was looking to see if his parents, because I was like, no, I was gonna snitch. I was gonna straight up snitch. I was like, no, I was gonna put him in a situation where I'm like, you do not need to be on the internet, because no, it's like outside. My thing is this: I didn't care if he was threatening me. When it came down to my friends, I'm like, okay, now there's a problem, because now you ain't got my friends involved and they even did nothing to you. They just minding their own business, and you're harassing them because they're in my comment sections because I'm cool with them. No, that's stupid. And so, no, yeah, I had, we did kind of, you know, go back and forth for a little bit. Then it stopped. Then it started back up in 2016. 2016 was honestly, that was the year where I was like, it was way too much internet drama going on and stuff. Like, I was getting into it with him, then that fan base, and then the Just a Robot guy that was just the one that defended the pedophile. I got into it with this racist YouTuber. Man, I'm telling you, like, it was one of those things where I'm like, fam, I'm fighting multiple wars, and I'm like, I'm just one person. Like, dang, can I just take the time and moment to relax and stuff? So yeah, it was like, it did take me some time to realize that, you know, drama on the internet, it gets pointless after a while. But no, anyway, so how I almost, well, I wouldn't even say I almost, it was, no, I got canceled with this community, but the Thomas the Tank Engine community. And I know people are like, whoa, wait a minute, time out. You got canceled like what, by some kids or something? No, that's the weird thing about it. It was by full grown adults. So, backstory. The guy that I was just talking about, the kid and stuff, where I was trying to find where his parents were on social media. So he was a fan of that show. So, and that was another, he like recruited, it was like adults. And I'm thinking to myself, you're 14 years old talking with some 30. I think the oldest I remember I seen was somebody that was 35 years old in this community. And I'm thinking to myself, you're talking with a 35-year-old. Like, it's one of those things where I you know, maybe if it's a person like a content creator where we know their name, we know what they look like. So like if they tried something funny, it's like, okay, it kind of like EDP for an example. We know what he looks like. We know his name and all this other stuff. This 35-year-old whoever that's pretending to be a train on the internet, and it's a TV show that's primarily watched by kids, and you out here getting followed and talking with kids on the, you guys see the weird part about that. At least for me, I seen it, because I'm like, I know if I had kids, I don't want them talking with no 35-year-old person and they pretend to be a cartoon character. Like, no, that's weird, bro. So nobody didn't really, I guess, pay too much. But at the same time, the reason why people didn't really pay too much attention to that, because when I had did that video, I'm gonna admit, I wasn't the best at getting my point across. I felt like that I needed to work on my communication skills in order to get my point across better. Like, I wanted to be a content creator. That was the goal. That was the plan. After I had got to a certain amount of subscribers on YouTube, I was like, nah, bro, I'm going to become a full-time content creator. I was even telling my managers and all that stuff. But I was like, that was one thing that I will say about that, because I worked at this cafe job in Seattle, and I will say that job, it really did help me with my communication skills, like just talking with a bunch of different people and having so many different conversations. And so yeah, it did take me some time. You notice like my videos from back then all the way up until like now, even in podcast episode, I'm like, yeah, bro, it took me some time, you know, but eventually I got there and stuff. I think if I were to do that video today, it definitely would have been different. But no, it still would have been the same message. I'm like, you 35 years old, pretend to be a cartoon character on the internet, talking with kids. That's weird. I'm like, I don't care what anybody says about that. But I didn't say that at the time. I was like, nah, if you are a certain age and you're watching this show, I'm like, you're a pedophile. Those were my exact words. I can't remember the age, but it was an age where I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, it wasn't like that old of an age too, but I did say that. I think it was definitely below 20 and stuff. And I was like, nah, something wrong with you and things. But I did that. I said that. Then I did get canceled amongst that community, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you guys acting like I'm trying to be a part of the community or something. I'm not, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I guess I apologize, for those that I offended and stuff. That wasn't my intentions. My intentions were to upset this kid, but I guess, that was just bad on my part. I should have worded the video differently and stuff, but anyways, no, I guess I can say, somewhat, but that's the message behind this is that you really gotta be careful with what you say, and that's the thing where I'm like, it just seems like at times people just walk themselves into being canceled. And I know if people ask, have I ever been through something like that, again, since that situation? No, because I'm careful with what I say. I'm careful. I have to say, maybe I've gotten canceled amongst communities where it's bad. So maybe like the Trump community. What else? Like racist people, stuff like that. I'm like, I guess I've been canceled amongst communities like that, but I'm like, I don't care if I've been canceled amongst communities like that. I want to get canceled amongst communities like that. But overall, like a cancellation to where it's like, everybody is talking about it. No, I just don't. My thing is this. I might not be the best content creator ever. I might not be the smartest, but that's one thing that I know not to do is to post or upload, whatever the situation is, not to post anything offensive on any social media platform, and that's the thing. People be thinking like, oh, well, what's offensive and what's not offensive? That shouldn't even be a question. You should overall know what's offensive and not offensive. If there's conversations that you wouldn't even have out in public, why do you think, oh, I can have this same conversation on the internet and it's going to be okay, but I won't have this conversation out in public? And that's one of those things where I'm like, even just talking on the YouTuber that thought it was he thought it was a good idea to defend a pedophile. I'm like, okay, how would you be able to, like, let's say if you were doing one of them TED Talk things or something, and you had to have that same conversation in front of a crowd of people, and let's just say that all them people in that crowd all have kids, and you're trying to explain to these parents that, hey, what this pedophile did wasn't all that bad. You see the point that I'm trying to make? So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you really got to sit down and think about the conversations that you have and think, is this a conversation that, it's a universal conversation that everybody can agree with? So, let's say, for an example, if I'm talking on a video game, right? And I guess, I don't know, I guess you could maybe possibly get canceled amongst a video, depending on what the conversation is. So I guess, if I do a video where I'm like, hey, this video game is stupid, there's gonna probably be a lot of people out there upset with what I had said and stuff, but I guess, if it's something where I'm like, hey, and that's the crazy thing about it is that I've been canceled for, well, I guess not really so much canceled, but I've had people get on me for both situations. There's been times where I said a video game is good, people then got mad at me for that, and then there's been times where I said a video game is bad, and people then got mad at me for that. And I'm like, dang, at the end of the day, you really can't have no opinion on stuff, but at the same time, it's like, those are conversations that I'm not afraid to have out in public. So if let's say if it's a video game that I say that's bad, I'm not afraid to go out and tell people, where it's like, let's say if it's Mario Kart, for an example, let's just say I hate that game. I'm like, no, worst game of all time and stuff. And but that's a conversation where I'm all like, I would have that conversation with a friend of mine. I have that conversation with anybody. I'll post about it, talk about it. I don't like that game, and that's one of those things where it's like a person can accept it. They're like, hey, he don't like that game. Now there'd be some people that'll think along those lines. Then there's gonna be some people that get mad at what I just said, and they're gonna be like, nah, I gotta hate on you, I gotta harass you, you gonna like this game. And that's another thing too, where I'm like, it's certain conversations where people, when they try that, where it's like they want to cancel you, but they the only ones canceling you. Yeah, cancellations don't work like that. Cancellation got to work along the lines where it's like everybody is agreeing with it. And it can't be on those stuff too, because I feel like people will hear this and they be like, oh, well, let me create a bunch of different accounts and then try to make it seem like he's being canceled for something. It don't work like that. It's still one of those, because I had it where people, they did that. So that same YouTuber that defended the pedophile, he was trying to get me canceled. He was trying to do any and everything. He was coming up with elaborative plans. He was on some no, and just be mentioning this movie for the holidays. He was really on some Kevin McAllister stuff. He was rolling out big old giant pieces of paper. He's like, okay, this is Operation Takedown TMossBoss. So we're going to come up with this lie. We're going to come up with this rumor. We gonna say this, we gonna do that, we gonna put him in this situation, and yeah, bro, I was like, man, it was one of those things where I'm all like, dang, I might just get canceled by this community, or they at least might be the reasons on why I get canceled. But no, yeah, it's one of those things though, where I guess when it came down to actually showing some hardcore proof and things, yeah, they messed up on that part. So, and it's one of those things too where I'm like, yeah, and you trying to cancel me for some stuff, meanwhile it's like you guys is out here being pedophiles, defending pedophiles, being racist, doing all these other different crazy things. I really should just go and just do a whole maybe a podcast. I might try to squeeze that in before the year is over, just talk on all the different crazy things that community has done to people and stuff. But I know it's gonna take a lot, so I don't know. It might be one of those things where I'm like, it might happen, it might not happen, but yeah, there's been some people out there that got canceled for some stuff, and I'm like, man, you guys can't even pick and choose what's right and what's wrong. And I'm like, with me, I know that there's conversations where I'm like, I can't talk on that type of stuff because I know it's gonna be offensive, but at the same time too, I'm like, okay, I don't even be thinking along those lines where I'm like, I have to say something offensive or I have to think something offensive. I'm like, nah, bro, it's one of those things where however people live their lives, whatever people got going on, whatever they support and not support and all this other stuff, I'm like, hey, that's on you. They ain't got nothing to do with me. I guess I'm not one of those people that's a part of the cancel culture where I look for people to cancel, but at the same time, I don't put myself in a situation where I'm now being on the receiving end of the cancel culture and stuff, where it's like I'm being canceled for something I ain't said or did, because I'm a little bit more careful with the things I say and do on the internet. With me, for the most part, I try to keep my content PG, so that's why I don't really be cursing in my videos and just any form of content. I don't be showing explicit content. I don't do explicit content. I don't do nothing or show any things or saying things where it's going to leave people feeling a certain way. And I'm like, fam, I've been managing to do that for 15 years. So it trips me out where it's like, I can do this, and I've been doing content creating since I was 13. So I'm like, my goal has always been, okay, I got to entertain people. How can I entertain people? Okay, let me do this, let me do that, but yeah, it's just some people out there where they're like, nah, there's like, I got to be offensive. I got to say this, I got to do that. And I'm like, all right, you find yourself getting canceled. Don't say nobody didn't warn you. But anyways, with that being said, I will talk to y'all later. Yeah, moral of this whole podcast episode, overall talking on cancellations. But yeah, people, don't get if you are any form of, not even that, it's like, the crazy thing about this is that there have been people that are not even content creators. They done been canceled. You hear where people, it's like they done went viral. It'll be like a Karen, for an example, right? I was just getting ready to end this podcast episode, but I was like, nah, man, being canceled, it's a big conversation, but I'm going to end it off after this. But no, it'll be like a Karen where it's like she's out and about harassing black people, right? Yeah, the typical Karen behavior and stuff. But yeah, no, she'll see a black person just outside texting on their phone and stuff. So yeah, let's just paint out a scenario, right? I'm outside, I'm texting on my phone, laughing, swiping, doing any and everything that a phone user will be doing, right? All of a sudden, I just see a shadow kind of, come over me and things. I look up and I see it's an old woman recording, got the Karen cut, Karen outfit, all that stuff, even the Karen voice, but she approaches me. She's like, what are you doing here? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, it's a a open space where anybody it's public, anybody can be here. It's like, what? So I probably, on, if knowing me, I'm like, I looked at her, I'm like, who are you? Like, that, please, no, get out of my face, don't even try that with me. I'm like, no, you gotta go. You don't. It's one of those things. I'm like, trust me, I have more of a reason to be here than you do. You just see me and you're all like, oh, I gotta serve and protect. I'm like, ma'am, I would hit you with a cross move and you wouldn't even see it coming. It's just one of those things. I'm like, fam, I might not be no football player, but I would hit you with the cleanest juke if you trying to stop me from doing something. All right, even if I was out here doing something illegal, you ain't gonna be able to do nothing. All right, so unless you know something that I don't know about, but yeah, other than that, I'm like, man, please stop it. All right, but no, overall though, let's just keep it PG. Let's try to make it like one of them like learning videos and stuff, right? So she approaches me, she's like, what are you doing out here? And I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for a friend. She's like, oh, who's this friend? And I'm thinking, you know, and getting back to how I'd be thinking, I'm like, you don't even need to know that information, but because this is one of those learning videos, I'm like, oh, it's a friend that lives around here. And it's like, oh, I don't trust you, I'm calling the police. And I'm thinking to myself, you gonna waste these police officers' time and, you know, just whatever. And I'm like, you know what, I gotta record this. I gotta definitely post this on social media and stuff. So I'm recording her. She's like, yeah, you're out here doing the illegal activities. You're being one of them, you know, them type of black people that be on menace to society and boys in the hood. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, ma'am, that we're not even in the same area that them people were at. We're in Seattle, Washington. I'm like, I'm gonna be, if anything's, doing Seattle, Washington stuff. What are you talking about? So I record her. I post it on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Next thing you know, I have blown up overnight. Every video got 30 to 100 million views. I got local news stations, global news stations. I got every news station contacting me. And then let's say it be on some like wild stuff too, where she pepper sprays me. She thinks I'm getting ready to do something. All I just did was stand up to pull my pants up. She think I'm going for a gun. She and pepper sprayed me and stuff. Not only so, it's like that just made the situation 10 times worse. So now it's like, and yeah, let's say she got like this high paying job. She lives in this nice community. What else does she got going on? She got her kids, they going to a nice school, all these other different things. But now, I done posted this video of this woman harassing me and then pepper spraying me and stuff. Now, everybody done seen this video at her job. Everybody done seen this video at her kid's school. Like her community, everybody in her community done seen this video. And she done forgot that her next door neighbor is married to a black person. So not only are they upset, you got where the whole community, they gonna have more of a voice than you will. All right, but you got it where there's all these activists and people sharing the video. And then it's, let's say it be on some like even more crazier stuff where it be like, I'm trying to think of somebody famous. Let's say Beyonce, for an example, one of the most famous people in this world right now. She shares the video. I think that would be wild. I'm like, I just don't know how I would feel if I got shared, if my story had got shared by Beyonce. I'm like, hey, you know, I grew up watching movies that she was in, listening to some of the music. I'm like, dang, I didn't realize it was going to be a full circle moment. But overall, all that happens. Barack Obama, I'm trying to think who else famous, you know, and then of course, you know, it gets put in, then because you know it's gonna be some negative things getting said about that and stuff. So of course, you know, let's say Trump, for an example, he sees it and he's like, oh, look at this illegal alien. And I'm like, bro, I was born and raised in Seattle. I'm like, how am I illegal? My paperwork all checks out. When you see the origins of my birth and all this other stuff, I was right here in this country. All right, so. But anyways, yeah, then it really skyrockets the story and stuff. But anyways, but no, overall though, that woman, who this fictional woman, gonna get kicked out of her community because they were like, we don't want you to live out here no more. So it's definitely going to be a situation because it's like people are going to find out where she lives. See, that's the crazy thing about when they get canceled, you don't even realize the damage that you done caused. So it's like, fam, so people done found out your name, they done found out where you live, where you work. They calling up these places, calling up your neighbors, and they're like, hey, excuse me, I'm sorry, but they're all like, hey, you know, you got this woman that lives in your neighborhood. I seen that video, and so now your neighbors are dealing with it. The only thing that you can do is move out in the middle of nowhere. You gotta live where they were living at and encourage the cowardly dog. You gotta literally move out to the desert, all right? But anyways, but yeah, no, you're gonna lose your job. You're gonna most likely lose your house. Your kids is gonna be getting bullied at school. If not, they're gonna get removed from the school. But it's going to be a lot of different things going on, and you will not be able to stop it. So that's what I'm saying. And it's like, I didn't see that type of stuff happen way too many times, where it'd be from random people, the content creators, the streamers, TikTokers, where they get canceled and they get canceled for some stuff. And it's like, dang, bruh, like, you wasn't even thinking about, like, I guess, like, the consequences and repercussions on what you said or what you did. But now look, now you are a part of being canceled, and you can't do nothing about it besides let it happen. So my advice to people out there: leave people alone. If there's certain topics and discussions that people want you to talk about, don't even talk on it. If you know you're going to say something offensive, don't even talk on it. Just leave it alone. But anyways, with that being said, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. Like, subscribe, viewing this on YouTube. Follow or subscribe, viewing this on the podcast streaming service. And peace.